Julie here with Sirius Talis Moon, and this is as Venus approaches Uranus. We have to understand that the participation in secret societies that are also occultistic societies in many cases, they are in fact first and foremost occultistic societies, whether it's Scientology, Masons, or whatnot. It means that if you're dating a person who is in such a society, let alone runs it, um, then it means that they are traffickers, they are criminals against humanity, that they were probably raped as a boy and they have to commit treasons in the people that they love. And if you are a woman part of such society, it means that you are Ghislaine Maxwell. The and the fact that these Epstein dossiers infiltrated, yes, they're all one and the same, infiltrated the healthcare system, it also means you deprive people of housing, resources, and whatnot. So the secret societies are creating their assassins. There is nothing that you build that will stand the test of time as long as you don't abolish rape. Nothing. Just as the people that you think are competitors, when all they are people that they can learn from you, they can give you veneration, but they will not agree with rape and trafficking. And they would not go to a school that does not abolish rape and trafficking. You cannot talk about commitment when there is rape. And no matter how you paint the raped woman, these type of rapey moves bring to the failing of the legacies. Also in women that are the Ghislaine Maxwells. You want to be acknowledged by what you build, abolish. If I build a building, and I'm half Dutch, by us, we have to renew the foundations of the building nearly all the time because the soil is mutable land. I know that if I come to build something in Netherlands, the foundations will have to constantly be tended to. So when you build a legacy, or when you build a business, or when you build I don't know what, and I saw it with me. If I would pay taxes to the people that are kidnapping children and so on and so forth, that explains why I couldn't get my business running. At least I know that. The foundation for your business is that there would not be rape and trafficking in and by your business. That's the foundation. Everything is going to continuously collapse until that foundation is solid and maintained. And that includes your relationships, your families. When the infants are targeted by MK often in secret occult societies, it's no wonder that there are women that don't date, that don't have children. And then when they try to love bomb them from the astral and they don't know what it is, it's no wonder that they're not even thinking, they're not even doing the checks to see, wait a second, this person is married, this person is this person is that, this person, because they're like, oh, I have the approximate of something that looks loving. And at this point in their life, they don't even expect from workers. It's like, how can a man stand in this society? He would have to shoot all the temples that do the rape of the infants. And until rape is abolished, there's no point for us to even go on date, unless what we do is some sort of activity to abolish rape. And then, oh, this man wants to be a father. Amazing. Let him be a father with the person that he already is. I cannot bring children to this world where infants are targeted. And no, I don't. People don't run around thinking that every single business is Epstein dossiers. But I guess now they have to begin to. If a business can't hold to, hey, users of the products of this business were targeted. And then some of the products assist was against it, and some not. But it's not like a person can be. Is that some kind of extortion where people do targeting and then say, "Oh, we're going to sell you the things that." Okay, what about our husband? What about our life? What about our nourishment? What about living life? Control is not a business model. It is not a household model. It is not a model for spirituality. What it does do, it breaks the monopoly over power because it's losing the mandate of the heaven. When I was talking about, I think it's 2028 when you have eclipse with Lilith, Pluto, and Rahu. What is this eclipse with Lilith? It's exactly those things. It's the people that think that the business model is that some people would stand with the red robe and be trafficked. Entire China, half of China is dead because of these things. Without these things, it would never be possible to have such policies that kill the people. It's only when it's possible to rape a woman without implications that they can be tyrannical regime. And even good regime cannot hold ground in society that traffics its people. Society that traffics has a roundabout logic. In society that traffics, the freedom of vocation or to do what one wants to do with your body is being seen as the freedom of the trafficked person to be trafficked. And they are tortured to advocate for that. A society that only gives the nourishment and love since infanthood in a cycle of trafficking. And what is rapey undermines itself. Just like when there are women that say, why is he not monogamous? Why he's not this? Why he's not that? And inside themselves, they cannot have sex with this man because they're still having their traumas. But they talk about monogamy and they don't talk about the sexual traumas that tackle the intimacy. And instead, they try to people please within marriage or within relation. And so eventually this man would cheat with them, with women that he came to love them, but are not as, but they hold him accountable in the way that the partner doesn't. And this is what they get emotionally enmeshed with. No, seriously. Lust, magic, and all these things, they only work so much as there are certain emotional needs that need to be met. Amazing. When those needs are met, well, what happens? The love needs to be actually loving. If it's not love is actually loving, then this is where everything that they were building based upon this lust, magic, or whatnot is falling apart. Because if you nourish person, then that has to be love that's actually loving. Now, if you nourish person and then expect them to do something that betrays themselves, they will begin to build themselves in such a way that negates that. Now, do they have to assassinate you to not be raped? And of course, a human trafficker cannot build a future with a woman. His child will be trafficked and raped in the astral, as he did to, or his wife, or I don't know. Saturn is leaving the sextile with Pluto and preparing to the square. These structures, the traffic structures in society, are the things that are being purged. And this is also the square. I have Saturn square Pluto with synastry with my mother. When it was the Me Too, 2 years I did not speak to my mother. Why? Because she needed to remove the rapist structures in her brain, but she was hurt by the structure. She wasn't trafficked, but she was hurt like many women. And then she still embodied the mindset of, oh, women that are just climbing up the ladder, or women are this, or women are that. Then I could not be in contact with my own mother for 2 years. This is the power of Saturn square Pluto. It vanishes the structures that are rapey, even if it is your parent. When people are filming unsolicitedly a tenant in their own house, and suddenly the tenant feels like, well, even if I try to self-pleasure, I don't want her. What is happening? and it's difficult to clean, and it's difficult. And then they're like, oh, but they don't want anything from that they traded the. No, they want to destroy that entire structure from the go, because there is no business that can be done by that. This type of business doesn't bring the water. And the water that they sell you is not going to be fresh water, I tell you that. My mother lost all her teeth to the tap water. What do you think, the water that they're going to sell you is going to be water that actually waters? At the juncture where the Saturn square Pluto is activated, from the core, the structures that from the core are rapey vanish. Anything that was built on a rapey mindset, a rapey structure, vanishes. My mother had to deal with the fact that she might have to bury a daughter, or bury completely, totally, and from the core, every single enabling of rape structure. She lost her almost all of her teeth in at that time. Not with pain. But this water, of course, this water is not clean. And they build on a person needing a dentistry, so that at that time they would need the money. Well, the teeth are not clean because the mold is the mold that they molded the babies to be trafficked. And that mold needs to be removed from all of our collective teeth. What is the wisdom teeth? It's the teeth that connect to the lungs and the heart. It's the mold in the heart from people that were growing into rape and trafficking in structures. So fathers couldn't love daughters, and daughters couldn't be safe with their fathers. And it's not like there was this welfare out there that was safer. No, this welfare out there that was a direct the highway to the Epstein and the Trudeau Sears. That's the mold in all of our teeth. And that's what caused the pollution of the water. And that needs to be destroyed from the core, so that anything that has life can sustain the test of time. The babies that were born in Saturn in Pisces, this speaks to them a lot because it's the water. In Aries is already the identity. The water of preconception, when the baby is in the womb. When there is rape and trafficking, these waters are polluted. And then will the baby live? Will the baby die? Was it a mistake to bring a baby? Should we kill the baby? And then the religious that sit on that. Oh, if a baby is brought outside of marriage, it was like, no, it was brought within marriage. But of course, a parent cannot bring children when they grew up in society where red light district is a normal thing. And red light district is traffic chill. It's the children that, like Annika Lucas, said no to the bigger crimes against humanity. And then they are trafficked to work as people that are raped. But they see that all their power is to overpower somebody's sexuality. And of course, that these clients of these people are later targeted for life assessment. What do they want? They rape the person. Well, the only thing that they can fix that is to abolish rape from the core. Of course, the societies, I had a joke yesterday. In Netherlands, they are afraid to take asylum seekers from Russia. And I said, why? Volk has Eris return. These people, they can make palmoni, then we put it, we fry it, and then we have palmoni croquette. They can bring shuba. They can bring, I don't know, borscht, I don't know if it's also Russian. And then they can go by ships and colonize Russia. They're Russians. Via the North Sea. And then, but they take the silver, but they bring the gold. Because last time we did the opposite is no good. So a lot of gold in the Kremlin. Then we have a settlement in, I don't know, Siberia or something. But what is happening with colonialism? The fathers that would murder their daughters if they dated someone, but also murder their daughters if they dated the person that the father wanted them to date and that person was abusive. You want to tell me that such populists will not be colonized? Now, what do you do when a trafficker builds something? You say, okay, clean that from the rape, clean that from the trafficking. If it's something left like that, you say, yes, this is the thing that these people built, that they were trafficking, and then people refine that to something that is not rapey. Think of like a better per se talisman. How goddess Diana, the goddess of fertility, became the goddess of the hand that protect women from rape and protect the children. Rape is not work. Was she protecting prostitutes? No, she was protecting from prostitution. Because prostitution is rape and trafficking. Now, here is the thing. If people have such big problems with people in that opinion about prostitution, and they have just a differing opinion, they would not have harassed us. They would not have tried to make us be trafficked. If I was wrong, then I would probably not be harassed by these people. These people would say, okay, this person, this is what they think about these things. Okay, let them be. They probably have some trauma, probably this, let them be. No, they use the traumas in order to try to traffic. Which shows that there is no such thing as sex work. And within every society, these groups of people, of course, when people come and completely kill all of these people, is euthanasia. To them, because they torture each other so much and they don't let one another die even. And any religions that go by, these people are dismissing of that religion. Why does nobody look at Christianity today and Christianity, oh, that's the people that rape people in spiritual rape. And then say, pray to God this, pray to God that. But they didn't abolish rape. These are the people that when a child is raped and tortured, they say, oh, the child deteriorated. The child did not deteriorate. The society failed them. And that society was also religious. both the secular but also the religious. Rape is not work. Not just when we talk about people being trafficked and so on. At any sector, whether it's astrology, whether it's 9/11, 7/11, 7/11, 9/11. If no, seriously, if a person works at a job and it's not suffice for them to have housing, to have food, then 9/11. And if the only job that is suffice is crimes against humanity, then of course it's building something that is on such shaky ground. Do you know that these people, they don't even allow a person to go swimming, to do practice and exercise that is good for their bone density? And they try to convince the people that their parents are or that this are. Let's say no. Let's go with that. Let's say somebody's parents is. Why isn't an entire society making sure that that is not to be? Why doesn't the entire society shows that they are not rapey consistently? Because then the person would. I was 2 years not in contact with my mom. 2 years. Where was society to show me that it is not rapey? Like I said with Eris, people that planned to get rich by enslaving other people, what can I say? Even when people think to colonize, what do they think? They reach people that are um, unaware and this and that. Okay, but then they become aware. It's like, okay, these things, these people, there's not. So it becomes now. Here is the thing: if I forget colonizing, forget slavery, everything, if I work to escape something, okay, my bones begin to fracture, and then I see all the money goes to. I went through this. I don't say this for an outside. I tried to make my to escape the world through trying to work, and then every workplace there was corruption. I couldn't do corruption, and then I became sick because of the working conditions. And then to deal with what I actually want to do, I had to deal with recovery from sexual boundary violation because I had no passion for life. I escaped to work because I had no passion for life because of sexual boundary violation. And so, but whether I would work, I don't know, a communication company to sell people routers or whatnot. And of course, there's no point to even think about dating a person. Now, what will happen in society that entire society is orchestrated around people being trafficked, whether in marriage or outside of marriage, whether they go outside to work, whether they don't go outside to work? What is happening? The only cure is euthanasia for the entire society. Happy Independence Day, a bomb and Norwegian. Yesterday I went outside, it was Independence Day. Everything was empty. But the moon right now is also, moon and Jupiter also around the ascendant of the 1800 chart of Netherlands. And all of these things happen in the, this Aries stellium happens in the 10th house of Netherlands. But the Russians want to seek asylum. After the Ukrainians, the Russians want to seek asylum in Netherlands. Uranus is in the 11th house of Netherlands, about to go into the 12th. And the biggest blind spot Netherlands has to do with the normalization of trafficking. Esau's children. Now, here is the thing: when we're thinking about what began as a settlement next to the North Sea, that was so much prevalent that the experience of death was more prevalent than the experience of life. Every single time there could be flooding, and nature was, of course, seen as the enemy. So it's not like there isn't a reason that the value of human life, it became such a thing where the value of human life, or appreciating every single spark of human life, was there. At the same time, having to non-attach from even the children that are born. And yet everybody seeks asylum there. And unfortunately, such society was very susceptible to be in a situation where, when people are trafficked and they try to find the human warmth, or some sort of communication, or being able to celebrate the identity of who they are, albeit being raped or whatnot. And here is the blind spot, because the blind spot is Gemini, is the trade of children. Internationally, because Mercury is in Pisces. And it challenges the everythingness, because this was the place where it was shown that it's possible to create life out of, against all the odds. With the power of innovation, with the power of holding on to life, of making do with what barely is. And with this Uranus going through Gemini, the calling out of the rape of children as trade is, particularly with Sedna, is reminding us that those things undermine all the self-sustenance that made life even in the place where there wasn't life. with also the awareness that in such perpetual war state, war against the sea, then the the challenges to the human psyche and to the psycho-erotic of the human were very real, because the almost the almost pre-creation state of the waters and separated from the sky, and then this thing just was imminent. If we think about the first humans, they slept with one another. And yet the, the perpetuation of this state causes undermining of life. Uranus going through the 12th house with the ruler in the ninth at sea, and Jupiter in the fourth, is this upheaval brings flood. And this flood affects the leadership and affects the allies and enemies. And this flood can be because there can be revolutions that break certain dams. And the source of these revolutions that break certain dams is the children trade that is hidden because Mercury is with Pluto. Hidden child trade, even at sea, brings flood. So maybe they break the dam or something. And it will bring floods like we had centuries ago, that will wipe out entire villages. And this is where, to sustain from the flood, we cannot traffic children. And I know that this type of, now we're talking about the North Sea, we're talking about building a dam that breaks the North Sea, is everybody was working. Everybody was working. It's kind of like it was either live or die. So when we think about child labor or child trade, those things were not even. It's like every single living thing had to, and everybody faced with the fact that many people could die in the process of. It's something very different to the society that we're living in today. And in a certain sense, the danger of the sea was the union between the people. And then in those situations, the emotions, the human emotions, they imbued with the eroticism in very unusual ways, because life has to sustain. It's kind of like even a baby has to bring a baby. But then the the torturing that came with um, I don't know, the clergy and the banking systems. Perhaps in the attempt to create resilient children that won't die, but it had created so much destruction. and it was hanging on the property of the people, hanging on to life. And funnily enough, it is in those countries where the legitimacy for suicide following rape, which is mental crisis, was instated.